In this video, we're going to look at 2 easy ways to figure out the key of a song. One for when you're looking at a chord chart, and the other for when you're listening to a piece of music. These tricks won't work every time, but they'll help you out with the majority of the songs that you're listening to. Let's start with the chord chart. There are 7 chords available to us in any key, but most of the time, we're only going to be using 6 of these, 3 major and 3 minor. So if we were playing a chord progression in the key of G, that would mean the chord progression was constructed using any of these 6 chords. If we look at how the chords are laid out next to each other, we can see that there is only one place where we get 2 major chords in a row, the 4 chord and the 5 chord. This means that if we are able to identify the 4 chord and the 5 chord in a piece of music, we can count back and figure out the key that we're playing in. Now, just because the chords are literally next to each other in the scale doesn't mean we have to find them literally next to each other in the song that we're looking at. We don't only use letters in the alphabet in alphabetical order, we mix them up to form words. This is exactly the same thing with chords in a key. We mix up the chords from the scale, which is like the alphabet, to form chord progressions, which are like words. But even after we've mixed up letters to form words, we don't forget where they fit in the alphabetical sequence. It's the same with chords. After we've mixed them up to form chord progressions, we don't forget where they fit in relation to each other in the scale. Let's try a worked example. Here's the ultimate guitar chord chart for Bad Habits by Ed Sheeran. You can check out our lesson on guitar nutrition for an arrangement of how to play it. But let's say you wanted to do it with these chords and you were trying to figure out what key we're in. What we want to do is try and identify 2 chords that are both major chords that are next to each other alphabetically. Now, in this particular example, we have like a D major 7 chord and a G sus2. We're not overly concerned about that. We're looking for the chord types, major or minor type chords. In this case, the G sus2, it's not a minor type chord, so we're going to treat it as a major chord. So having a look at this chord progression, I'm looking for 2 different major chords and I'm going to see if they're next to each other alphabetically. So down here, there's an A chord. All right. Then I've got a D major type chord here. D and A major aren't next to each other alphabetically. D, E, F, G, A. Those are 5 notes apart, so they can't be the ones we're looking for. D major, G major, all right. D, E, F, G. No, those are 4 notes apart, so again, not the ones we're looking for. But G and A, the musical alphabet only goes up to G, so the next one would be A. G, A. Those are 2 major chords that are right next to each other. So we can assume that they are our 4 and our 5 chord. So if they're our 4 and our 5 chord, we just have to count back through the scale till we reach 1, and that will tell us what key we're in. So we go A, G, some kind of F chord, some kind of E chord, D. That means that we're in the key of D major. And we can see that D major is the other major chord that occurs here. And if I look at all of the chords that are in the key of G major, I can actually see most of those expressed in this song. Now at the top of the page, it says we're in the key of B minor. That is because B minor is the relative key of D major. This just means they share the same notes. For our purposes, it doesn't really matter if a song is technically in B minor or D major, because they share the same notes anyway. If we're trying to figure out the key, we just have to treat it as if it was a major key. So this next example requires us knowing how to play the major scale. We can do any major scale, but I think the one on the top 3 strings works best for what we're trying to do here. If you know your pentatonic pattern 1 shape, with a couple of additional notes. If we start our pentatonic pattern 1 on the 5th fret, we are playing an A minor pentatonic scale. The major shape we extracted from that pattern is a C major scale. Just like we learned before that D major and B minor are relative keys because they share the same notes, A minor and C major are relative keys because they share the same notes. This means we can use our A minor pentatonic pattern to improvise or solo whether we're in the key of A minor or C major. It'll work fine in both. If we look at the major scale shape, we can see that there are two instances where we have two notes right next to each other. If we take our major scale shape and spread it out across one string, we can see that there are still two instances where we have two notes right next to each other. In each of these places, it's possible to play a 1, 3, 4 pattern, which is the fingering we use to play the top string of the major scale. One of these places is going to be the correct place to play the major scale. The other will have a note that sounds bad because it's not in the scale. That's not a good time. If I want to play in the key of C major or A minor, and I play the major scale at the 5th fret, it works because all of the notes are in the key. However, if I try and play the major scale in the other position, I discover that I'm playing a note that is not in the key. Let's try a couple of worked examples. I'm going to use some random tracks from the YouTube audio library, and I have no idea what key these are in, so we're going to figure it out together using this system. Let's try this one, Bonfire. What I'm going to do is randomly play notes on the high E string until I find two next to each other that sound good. That will be one of my positions where we can play 1, 3, 4. So let's try and figure it out. That sounds right. That's okay. All right. So 1, 3, 4. That sounds all right. Now I'm going to play down my major scale. All right. No, that's definitely not where we want. So I've got to find the other 1, 3, 4 position. Here's the other 1, 3, 4 position. My major scale sounds good. All of the notes. So that means that we're in the key of F major because this note here is an F. Or if we were thinking about the relative minor, it would be the key of D minor. That means I could use my pentatonic pattern 1 here and play over top of the chord progression. F major. Bonfire is in the key of F major. So along the high E string, I'm trying to find two notes next to each other. Then I can test my 1, 3, 4 pattern to see if there's a major scale there. Not that one. That's alright. Okay, there's two next to each other. Let's test my 1, 3, 4 pattern. That doesn't sound great. Let's find the other 1, 3, 4. Okay, there's a 1, 3, 4. Sounds right. Alright, that means I'm in the key of G flat major. Or E flat minor. So I can play my pentatonic pattern 1, starting on the 11th fret. video, guys. We've learned 2 new strategies to figure out the key of a song that will work most of the time. All of the diagrams in this video can be found at guitarnutrition.com, so head over there using the link in the description if you want to use them in the future. If you've enjoyed this video or learned something new, give it a like and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on any future content. Leave a comment, let me know if there's anything you want to learn, and we'll catch you guys next time.